Hello there, this is Cridical from Cridical Media, just taking a look at the 2024 Prestige Plus hardcover release of Batman, City of Madness by Christian Ward on the art as well as the writing. And what we usually do at this channel is give you an idea of what to expect if you ever come across these books in the wild. So we go over the exterior, some bonus material, art and plot points, and then a brief review at the end. Now this one, it's been on my radar for quite a bit. Predominantly because of Christian Ward. He's been on my radar ever since he did this like Steve McQueen awesome poster. It's like this graphic art style to it. And I was going to pick it up, but then I moved and it just doesn't fit the new place as well. But that's besides the point. He predominantly does a lot of variant covers. And his are always those kind of ones that, stand out. Like the Martin Simmons, Bill Sienkiewicz, that kind of jazz. I'd say he's probably the closest to like David Mack. And it's ironic I bring that up considering what we're about to see. But in any case, this artist, he finally got his own major series, I'd say. He did work with Romvi a few times, and as well as that awesome Invisible Kingdom series. That, by the way, I can't recommend that enough. Maybe I should do a video on that too. But besides the point, this series always intrigued me because of Christian Ward, but also like at least the initial premise of it. It has almost this Lovecraftian aspect, and we'll kind of see that as we go through this. But anywho, at least in terms of the exterior, yes, a very prominent pop cover, I can say. Definitely an awesome graphic style. And he has that kind of like Roy Lichtenstein style of use of color, I should say. So you'll kind of notice that Christian Ward has a certain aesthetic that he carries throughout the entire book. And yes, as you kind of saw there, pretty prominent cover, but I love the exterior from the Batman from below. Super awesome design, if you ask me. Very Lovecraftian. You're going to hear me use that term quite a bit. And as mentioned, this is actually a DC Prestige Plus. So, you'll notice it's kind of more square compared to other releases. It's kind of similar to, Superman Year One or Aquaman Andromeda, Wonder Woman Dead Earth, things like that. But yeah, I definitely appreciate this kind of format because it's a bit more square and it gives a bit more presence and a greater platform for artists to kind of show and do their thing, right? But nonetheless, at least underneath the dust jacket, a pretty intriguing gloss, aesthetic to it. But right there again, super awesome design. As mentioned, like just looking at this, it reminds me a lot of Dave McKean's approach. That's hence the reason why Arkham Asylum's there. There's actually another reason why it's there. But yeah, pretty much a similar aesthetic on the spine and a pretty awesome exterior as well. As you can kind of hint, it's an awesome wraparound image, essentially. Pretty sweet. Now, in terms of bonus material, Christian Ward is pretty much all over this book. But, admittedly, he does have variant covers. And the reason why I bring it up, and I mentioned earlier how ironic, is that a lot of those artists I mentioned, they're known for doing variant covers, and some of them are the best in the business. They're all here, basically. So Bill Sienkiewicz right off the bat, this awesome one. I think Martin Simmons, yeah, the same exterior you just saw. I love this image to death. I swear, Martin Simmons is Bill Sienkiewicz's heir apparent. They're so similar in their styles. So awesome. And you can even get a hint that there's a bit of Dave McKean in there, too. But nonetheless, yeah, you have some awesome designs here by Christian Ward again. So as you can see, Bill Sienkiewicz, here we are. Yes, Tula Latoy. So awesome there. Man, as you could tell, like these artists, they all seem to be of a similar community, right? And thankfully, there is a bit of a explanation, a bit of an interview here. I always love those, especially with these books that, kind of deal with the esoteric aspects of these universes. Definitely appreciate that. But yeah, just an overall a nice assembly of bonus material in this case. As you can see, like Christian Ward really showed up for this one. Like really. Some of the designs in this are incredible. Oh, sorry about that. A little glue crack. I guess it's relatively new. But yeah, aside from that, let's just go through, I guess, some art and plot points real quick. But yeah, predominantly the only other person who's really touching this book is just the letterer. Forgive me, Hassan Otsamane Elau. Forgive me. That's the best I can pronounce it. My apologies, sir. But yes, nonetheless, we're going right into this series. And as you can kind of hint, yeah, it does harken to a lot of recent Batman lore, but also a little bit more. There's a bit of a added bonus to this. But this series, it kind of starts off with like a quote from each issue. There's about 3. This was a Black Label book, so it had those longer issues. But nonetheless, just starts off with, just in the aftermath of some weird earthquake that happened in Gotham. And yeah, everybody's trying to leave it, but here's this kid trying to come in. But as right off the bat, you're getting some of this awesome graphic art aesthetic. Such a glorious image and the way this is realized, especially where the lettering is hidden. I always appreciate that this happens a lot in this book. They'll hide the lettering in Batman's silhouette, as you kind of see. I love that. It happens quite a few times. And yeah, it does start off with this, like, I guess somewhat love letter from Alfred to Bruce. Don't worry, it's platonic. But it's more like he wishes that things were different. And that's an ongoing theme here too. So awesome. But it does start off with Two-Face kind of being very direct in one of his little schemes here. But it's all a matter to get Batman's attention because something bigger is going on. But and it kind of has to do with this pseudo, I guess what's the word, world below, this antithetical version of Gotham, as though Gotham couldn't ever have a brighter side. But it kind of involves the Court of Owls, and I love how this scene plays out. Man, Christian Ward, it's pretty awesome when an artist is the author and actually knows what they're doing, because look how cinematic this comes across. I love this aesthetic where it's always the third person view, and you never see this member of the Court of Owls here, their face. They keep that anonymity intact, on point. And I definitely appreciate the way they move. It's literal backstabbing kind of organization, as we've been at least introduced through the Court of Owls. But nonetheless, it really boils down to the threat of this character, the Batman from below, somehow invading our world, or should I say the world of DC. And yeah, he's after essentially his own Robin. He's looking for a boy who's also suffered a tragedy that he can groom into being a Robin, essentially. And he's chosen this kid here, Giovanni. But nonetheless, as right off the bat, this is the page here that I was kind of alluding to throughout the video up to this point. Essentially, this book acts as a pseudo-sequel to Arkham Asylum, which is ironic because Grant Morrison has hinted that he was always working on one. Personally, don't feel we need one. If anything, we should get a book like this that's more of a spiritual sequel rather than a direct one. And you can even see the art aesthetic and even the way the panels go across. It often reminds me of Dave McKean's approach, even down to, Ruth Adams, the same nurse, or should I say, the same doctor from Arkham Asylum. There you go. And I love that kind of referencing. But because I'm such a huge fan of Babs, I love the fact that he included her somehow. She's not really directly involved with the story, but that's the thing. The story's a lot about making different choices. If only he made different choices, Batman, things could be different for several people. And I kind of like the way this scene plays out, especially the way Martin Simmons did this, where she's looking at her old suit, and it just fits perfectly with the I guess, reflection. So awesome. And I like the characterizations of, characters kind of hanging around from Arkham Asylum. Because Ruth, she's very much, just as much of a, She's very much of a pragmatist, so to speak, and a bit of a skeptic. It's ironic based on her position, but she's very realistic. We're not really healing anybody here, Batman. We're just trying to make sure they don't kill anybody else. Because even she's aware of the revolving door aspect of things. But I really appreciate, again, how Christian Ward approached this book. He used Two-Face in an interesting way. He made him like the messenger from the world below, So, like, there's some sort of enemy coming from the world below, the Batman below. And he's basically warning Bruce of this oncoming threat. But nonetheless, it's just, in general, awesome work. Even this reference to the Terrible Trio here. And also your introduction to pretty much, the savage nature of the Batman below. Incredible image. And it pretty much, you didn't need to see any of the fights or anything else. You really just need to see this image and see, okay, this is a tilted Batman for sure. But nonetheless, the series, it goes through several manias. Even that whole, the whole Scarface ventriloquist thing, the whole Arnold aspect of it. Definitely appreciate the way this whole event goes down. You probably never saw Scarface in that light ever before, yet you see him here. Awesome. I love this whole serenity aspect to Two-Face this time. He almost acts like a medium between the both worlds. It makes sense. His character has like multiple personalities, yet another personality somehow invades him. So he kind of becomes the the one messenger between the two worlds. Awesome sauce. But in a nutshell, the story does pretty much boil down to Batman does need to enter this world to save this kid before he ends up as a corrupted, twisted version of Robin, just as much as this character here became a twisted version of Batman. When you read the story, there's a logic to it. But man, I tell you, Christian Ward, he nailed so much in this series. As you can see, obviously the referencing to like Detective, I forget which issue it is, like Detective 38. It's basically the first issue with Robin, that same image. But nonetheless, I love how they kind of show that parallel, that juxtaposition between the two characters and how things can be different. And that's actually how this plays out. Such a dope ending to this series, I tell you. But yeah, you're just seeing all throughout this book. It's just nothing but an incredible color pop throughout the entirety of it. I kind of hinted that Christian Ward has this like Lichtenstein effect with his color use, where he knows like how to make certain colors pop while keeping this theme going. You kind of have noticed it. The entire book almost uses the same colors throughout, but nonetheless, it's just very well imbued. Even this referencing to the whole, Arkham Asylum, like I mentioned, like Amadeus Arkham and all that tragedies. Even that character, what was it, the killer from this one, Martin Hawkins. Again, another reference. It's, as I've mentioned, if there was one reason to get this book, maybe, you can, for those who are ever more hungry for Arkham Asylum type feels, this book absolutely has it. It's definitely got the Lovecraftian aspect to it as well. But honestly, this stands on its own. As I mentioned, spiritual successor. You can read this on its own and enjoy it just the same. But admittedly, if you have read Arkham Asylum, I will admit you will probably gain more nuance references and a little bit more of an atmosphere or hemisphere of storytelling here. Awesome sauce. I can't recommend this one enough. Definitely 2 thumbs up and definitely a pickup for everyone's library. And to be honest, the book is very well priced. But anywho, it's no longer about me at this point. Hopefully you guys have your own opinions about this one. And yeah, I would love to read them because this one is worth talking about. That's for sure. But anywho, hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video and you guys enjoy the rest of your day.